Hello all, welcome back to Words and Pictures for a few minutes of fun. It's winter tape time. We've done a summery version of these, we've done an autumnal version, and yeah, I suggested we might go for winter. I've been back and forth on this because obviously one could go full on icy, beautiful blues and whites and sparkle and all of that kind of business. But I think my inclination, I mean, that would look great if you were doing plain white wrapping paper and you had beautiful blue and white tape to fasten it. I also like to wrap in craft paper, so that would look great there. Also, obviously, in the way that I have been, you could use these tapes on cards or tags, that sort of thing. And I think my overall inclination has gone in the other direction, and for a while I was is to go botanical. And for a while I was thinking of sticking to my favoured sort of winter greenery, blues and whites and green, obviously. Maybe some purples. I do love a purple berry, as you'll have seen in one of the recent 10-minute tags. And then I thought, but it is lovely to have a pop of red. You know, this time of year, that can wake you up. So I'm thinking sort of greenery, vintage, definite pops of white Umbels, particularly with my new twisted Umbels. I think they'll be a brilliant sort of frosty look to them. Berries, definitely. And that where I might add my shimmer is with using maybe some distressed mica spray spritzes to paint some of the berries, to colour some of the berries, so that we are getting a bit of festive shimmer in along the way. Anyway, I'm going to play. This is going to be me playing. And I think I'm going to start with some greenery because I do love a bit of winter greenery, as you will have noticed. So let's start with one of my all-time favourites. I've got a bunch of Tim Holtz stamps here, got a bunch of my own PaperArtsy botanicals, and I'm probably going to end up with such a mess on the desk that I can't find my way back to normality. We'll see what happens. I'm mostly going to stamp in Archivals, just for that extra longevity, but in some of these colours I simply don't have an Archival in that colour, so there will be some distress stamping as well. Also, I don't have any shimmering Archivals. Does such a thing exist? I expect you'll all leap into action to tell me that it does. So yeah, I'm going to just get myself some random greenery coming across these tapes. I've got two thicknesses of masking tape on the board again. I guess that one's about 1 inch and that's maybe 1.5 inches. But it really, you know, it could be anything. You could go with any kind of tape that you've got, and you can see probably, even though I've had to go with artificial light today to get enough light on the desk, but I think you can probably see they're slightly different colours, and they're very slightly different textures as well, so things will hold on them differently, I'm guessing. Just rotating for my own fun, really, for the fun of the overall masterboard, because by the time the tapes are taken apart, you're not gonna know that this one was that way and this one was that way and this one was the other way. But it's nice for me to see that variation building. So that'll do for starters. Just going to give that a quick wipe. If you're just using ink, it's not in any way vital to get the colours off. I mean, I really love this quartet of postcards. I'll link to that I think must have been last year. I'm just trying to identify some of the colours I've used in those. I think probably iced spruce oxide may have been involved, because that's a rather beautiful silvery green, which is lovely on a soft evergreen frond. So let's maybe get ourselves some of that. Yeah, that's a beautiful green grey, isn't it? I need to try to remember that I've got this oxide stamping, so I'm going to have to be careful when I get to adding my colour layers, because either I need to clear emboss these now to keep them, which I could do. We could do that. It's going to take up quite a lot of clear embossing powder overall. I do intend to do some white embossing for sure at some point. So maybe I should just bite the bullet. Except of course it's going to stick. It's also going to stick along the edges of the masking tape. Decisions. I do sort of want to preserve those because they're really pretty, and I am going to need to preserve berries at some point. Or maybe I just am very careful when I go for background colour. Or, so choices. The other option is to simply live with a very soft focus look in the long run. Let's do a secondary stamping of that there. And maybe a secondary stamping of that there. Just whatever's left, because it's also quite nice to have those soft background details. Still debating in my head about about whether or not I want to clear emboss those. Because it's distress ink, it'll stay wet for a bit longer, so I've got a little bit longer to think about that decision and give it a go. So a little bit of brighter green coming now. So these are various sets. As always, I will link what I've used down below, and if you just Google, you should be able to look at the whole set and see what comes from where. I seem to be going downwards a lot down in this corner, so let's go upwards instead. I'm inking this one up, sort of ignoring the little pine cone at the bottom, just because that's what I want to do at the moment. Layering these up. Lovely winter greenery. There we go, nice. What I could do is try and just hit those grey ones that I've already got. I want a bit more of this one because it's nice and fresh, and it's doing good things to my teeth. My teeth are enjoying the zinginess of that green one. So again, let's go for a couple of secondaries, see what we've got left on the... So that's a sort of real background affair in a couple of those places. Right, so I am going to, if I can find my clear, where's my clear embossing powder? There it is. And what I'm going to try and aim to do is I'm going to find a piece of paper before I put the powder on. Right, here we go. I don't know where all my pieces of A4 paper had suddenly vanished to. I've usually got scraps of paper everywhere. What I'm going to try and do is maybe just hit that a little bit and then tip off, and then maybe just hit that a little bit. So these are the ones that were distress stampings, and I just want to keep those preserved. So that's 1, 2, 3. I haven't done that one, or that one. Just trying to keep track of what I've sprinkled powder over and what I haven't. Haven't sprinkled powder on that. Haven't sprinkled powder on that. Tip off in that direction. Haven't sprinkled powder on that. Without trying not to get embossing everywhere, because that's going to make it quite difficult to stamp over, because of course embossing powder, once it's embossed, acts as a resist. So I really am going to try and get rid of extraneous powder, and we'll see how we go. It's another day of playing and experimenting, so if this doesn't work out, I'll just start with some new masking tape. You know, it's pennies. Right, I'm going to emboss those and I'll be back. There we go. So those are embossed. I don't know if you can see the light just catching on some of that glossy embossing. The other knock-on effect of that, of course, may be on the adhesion abilities of the tape when I peel it off and stick it on again. But I definitely want some white embossing later. So frankly, I'm just going to have to live with that if that's what happens. If I end up having to glue down my tape, then I end up having to glue down my tape. Right, so I think what I want is a little bit of berry life. And I'm going to get that through a little bit of work with, first of all, I think, these two paints, and I'm going to apply them to the mat so that I can then apply them to the berries. I could absolutely do this with distressed watercolor pencils, in all kinds of ways to apply ink to your stamps. We've done it with distressed watercolor pencils, we've done it with watercolor markers, done all kinds of things. So this is Crackling Campfire and Lumberjack Plaid on the mat. Might just give that a little spritz of water to give us something a bit softer. And let's go so I'm just having a thought. That maybe it's worth adding a bit of colour, general wash of colour to the background first. But I haven't quite felt what colours I want in the background. Maybe something bluish, sort of icy blue skies. Maybe we do that. Maybe we do a little bit of stormy sky. I've done this with watercolour in the past, and maybe I should do that again. Oh, decisions. No, I'm not going to. I'm gonna stick with what I'm doing. Okay, that's a little berry in the middle of nowhere. So I need another one, because at the moment that's sticking out like a sore thumb. And then I'm going to do some purple berries, because that will immediately make me happier. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? The red still kind of makes my head fry a little bit. But the odd little red berry is quite a nice thing. I wonder if I can do this just by tapping on directly. I don't have the minis. Well, I have a few minis, but they're actually waiting for me in another country for when I might need them there, so that I don't have to carry my big distress inks with me everywhere. But I think that maybe applying like that gets me a slightly stronger berry. I do love the Lumberjack Plaid. Just at this time of year, just that brightness of berry can be a really joyous thing. I've put away my watercolour markers, unfortunately, which were doing a lovely job of colouring the stamps for me on some of those other tags we've been doing. Let's have a little red one up here, maybe going that way. Let's have another little red one over here. So I'm just getting that colour off the mat. Oh, I don't want it on there, silly Billy. Let's go with you. So this is a little mini archival peeled paint, so distress, but in archival formulation. And we'll have you there. Now let's do some purple berries. Is that enough red berries? Do we want a little spritz of soft red berry? That might be nice, mightn't it? Just a nice watercolory version. Oh, maybe going like that. I'm going to ink that one up properly. Didn't like it. And that's allowed, I think. We have to enjoy the thing we're doing, don't we? Otherwise, why are we doing it? And I might give that a bit more of a bluishness. I'm sort of hankering after a bit of turquoise amongst the colours. I might do some turquoise greenery in a minute. There we go. Yeah, see, the turquoise is nice. That was Beach Cruiser. So we might be doing a bit of that. I think I'll mop these up for now, just because red has a habit of getting everywhere if you're not careful. And it's not like I go through my reds that quickly. I can manage. I can afford to lose a little bit of red. Grand. So I now want the other berry from that same set. This is Winter Watercolor 2. And I want to do a little bit of blue and purpliness, because I do love my blue and purple berries. So I'm going to go up with the green just along the stem, just tipping and tilting so that I'm hitting the bit of the stamp that I want to hit. So now hitting the berries, that's Wilted Violet, and I'm going to add to it a bit of shaded lilac, like so. And let's have some of these berries, purple berries, added to the red berries, because I think that's going to be rather beautiful. There we go. That's what I'm after. Maybe I could go, I mean, it could be a whole berry purple stem. I don't really have to have the green. There's plenty of green going on. So why complicate my life? Let's go in like so. Very nice. Yeah, that's now starting to look. Maybe I should have stuck to not doing the red. This is why I put the red on first, because I thought if I do the purples and greens, I'm going to become so attached to the purples and greens that I won't ever add any red. So I was bold and made myself go red. This is already starting to make me happy with these purples. So again, wilted violet and shaded lilac just going on. Again, if I want to add extra background colour later, I am going to need to think about clear embossing this, because these are just going to go walkabout otherwise. But at the moment, I'm quite enjoying it with the whiter background. It is, you know, it's Christmas after all. It's snow in the background. That's a nice one. Where do we want that going? Let's have it going across here. The lovely thing about this is we're getting berries on multiple strips of tape all in one go. Let's go in there. That's very nice. This is a beauty on my new Umbels, this little frond, almost a ferny frond, but I think it's going to do a nice job as a winter affair as well. So I might do him in a little bit of that beach cruiser that I was enjoying. Although maybe a turquoisey colour is the one that we want in the background. Let's just have a look at this. In beach cruiser, maybe with a touch of blue in it. Blues and greens to go with these purples. Let's take you across there. Yeah, that's rather nice. And I might not use too much stem, because what the stem is doing is just giving me a line, which is not that interesting. Let's pop one in there. Just building these layers of botanical greenery. And again, it's that thing that when you're looking at a masterboard, initially it can just look like a hot mess. It's when you cut it up, it's when we remove the tapes, or if you're doing this masterboard just on paper and card, which of course you can. Most people do masterboards not on tapes, but on a piece of card that you would then cut up to make tag backgrounds or ATC backgrounds or card topper backgrounds. You absolutely don't have to be doing this on tape. This whole process could take place on paper. And then of course you can emboss to your heart's content. It's not going to make any difference. You'll be able to emboss and you don't need to worry about the adhesion of the tape underneath. A lot simpler, really. I did consider doing just a regular old masterboard for this, but you could absolutely be doing this exact same process, but on card. I quite enjoy this, the magic of peeling the tapes away at the end and seeing what looks like something fairly chaotic at the moment turn into something rather special and beautiful. In a minute, I'm going to want to add some sort of texty elements or numbers or ephemera, because that also is one of the great joys to me, is having those moments of vintage text or script happening. I also want a little bit more actual green going on. This, I think, is going to be quite a nice one to have a bit of. So this is the Gothic alphabet here, also on the Twisted Umbels, which just has a lovely festive feel to me somehow. That traditional Germanic Gothic alphabet. Maybe I don't want it on there, actually. Maybe I want to be adding it randomly, just the occasional bit of lettering. And that's giving me a lovely, vintage bit of detailing. I'm sorry we're at distance today, but it's kind of the only way to be able to show you the whole build of what's happening. And obviously I will be diving in for a close-up at the end. I'll try to remember to dive in for a little close-up of the tapes before I peel them apart, so you can see the masterboard as a whole before I peel my tapes away in the long run. See, that's doing quite nice things in my brain in terms of just a festive bit of text. Nice little random few letters. Just pop one there. And we're now on very much background colours. This is Coffee Archival, so it's just giving me a lovely vintage vibe. Let's go in there. Something in the middle here. Nice, I'm enjoying that. And I do think at some point quite soon I'm going to have to be brave and do a little bit of colour washing in places. It's maybe, I wonder whether it's possible to do it with a little bit of shimmering. So there's this lovely frosted juniper. This is one of the mica stains. I'm just wondering what we might get. Or maybe we should stick to green, because overall we're thinking greenery, aren't we? Choices, choices. There's bubbling cauldron. There's holly branch. The green's going to make the greens disappear. I think I want more green. I think I'm going to go with more greenery stamping. So let's get some slightly bushier ones on the go. So this is Sketch Greenery. Quite a lovely thing. I've got peeled paint, Archival, so maybe that's the thing to do, because that is a nice fresh zingy green. It's the one I was enjoying before on one of the others. So just to build a bit more greenery in some of these places where it's now not green. The thing about the original colour of the masking tape is that it's quite a nice sort of vintage cream to start with. There's something rather lovely about the simplicity of that. And maybe if one's got enough stamping detail going on, maybe I don't need to go for a background colour this time around. Let's see what we can do. Thing is, until you peel away, you don't really know quite what you've got. So there's that sort of really interesting little game to be played. I think building this sort of softer layer of greenery in the background. So these are now secondary stampings, but it's giving me little layers of greenery that are really rather beautiful. I want a bit more of something bluey turquoisey, I think. And then the other thought I was having, of course, is that I thought it might be nice to add a little bit of this shimmering mica stain. For instance, what have I got? Maybe it's the Cranberry. I think that could be quite interesting to add to my sparkly red berries. I might need to add some more red berries. Interesting. The desire for red berries is upon me. So I'm gonna take that festive green, take that festive berry. What did it call itself? Something cranberry. Tart cranberry. And just beef up these berries by hand. And what I might also do is add a few freehand ones. Why not? Am I still on camera? Just about. So I'm not only beefing these up, but I'm adding a bit of that mica shimmer to the end result. So let's let that happen over there. Interestingly, this is all on the run. I'm fine with that at the moment. Maybe it does want a few more red berries, but I think what I am also going to do in that case is add a bit of freehand pen work to join those berries together. I have got a purple here as well, so I could add a bit of purple and or that frosted juniper I was just talking about. Let's have a bit of each on the mat. Again, experiment time. So that's the frosted juniper, that's the tart cranberry. This is, what is this? Hocus Pocus. So this is supposedly a Halloween one, but I'm saying it's Christmas, or festive, or winter at any rate. So let's just pop it onto a couple of these berries, or just around the edges of the berries. So I'm just adding those hints of shimmer in various places for my own fun, really. So my other plan with this is to have some white Umbels in places, because I think they're going to add a lovely frosty effect. So that's why my brain is still slightly wondering about background colour, because if we're going to white emboss, is there going to be enough difference of colour between this creamy background and the white embossing? And I guess the answer to that is we don't know until we try. But looking at this frosted juniper, I'm also wondering whether maybe what I do is take a little bit of it for a little spin around some areas, and then we could pick those areas for embossing. So let's just take a bit of frosted juniper, soften across here. I think I'm going to prefer that as a blue. I think it's watercolor time, and that will also give me a way to join up some of those berries with a bit more presence. Okay, it's risk-taking time. Back shortly. So I think what I'm going to go with in places is the sort of wintry blue of French ultramarine, because it's a really cool blue, and mixed up with plenty of water, it's quite soft. I think we may have used it perhaps in summer and autumn, in which case I'm creating coordinating papers across the seasons. See, that's rather lovely, isn't it? I'm going to fade it in and out rather than going, I'm not getting it everywhere, and I'm certainly going to be careful around those berries because they are, for the most part, distressing. So I'm safe carrying it across, for instance, the text here. Safe carrying it across some of these, although if you remember, I certainly do, some of the archivals that we used in autumn seemed to slightly vanish under the watercolour. So, but we can always restamp. Just letting that stay in places and not everywhere. So I'm going to come in from down here as well, just with a softness. Again, avoid the berries. I could absolutely put some berries over here once it's in place. Let's come in through there. So again, what this is going to create is a variation across I hid a berry there, not to worry. It's quite nice, but if I want to put a stop to what's happening, just knock it away. There we go, and I can come back in and stamp over the top. So this is the thought I had right at the beginning, is maybe I should have put this colour in and then come and stamped over it. But you live and learn, right? As I say, if I were doing this on card, I would probably have been doing a lot more embossing as I went along, but I didn't want to mess too much with the heat and the tape. So let's just, yeah, see, this is nice. I like it. I like that we're coming and going with the blue now in places, and that it's not everywhere. It's that wintry blue sky. See how it goes on really strong, and then just add in water. Avoid those red berries, and just let it travel maybe along that tape a little way. There's something to me very beautiful about that blue fading in and out in places. just soft and subtle. Where it's hitting the paper behind, so again, I've stuck my tape over watercolor paper. A little bit not happy with those berries up there, so I'm just going to knock them back a little bit. Maybe with a bit of water I can knock them back further, because they are mostly distressed things, but the surface of the masking tape might not allow for that. So we've got a softness in places, got a very nice blue coming in and out, shifting across the tapes. Might put a little bit through the middle here as well. Again, softening that blue with water. There we go, knock it back a little bit. Nice, I'm enjoying that. And again, don't worry about where we've got to. All will be revealed as we peel back. I'm going to dry that, probably with the heat tool, or maybe let it dry, and come back to add just a little bit more stamping. Certainly some more texty stamping, ephemera kind of stamping, but also some more greenery now that we've softened that, and some more berries probably, almost certainly, and definitely some white umbels. Back shortly. Grand, so let's give you a little look at the layers we've got going on so far. And I think now that I've put in a little bit of background blue, I can be a bit bolder about stamping with distress inks and coming back in for a lot more greenery. So let's get back might be my favourite, I think, the one from Forest Floor. And I'm going to go with this Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide, which is a beauty, but I want a secondary stamping because it's quite full on. Actually, looking at it, it might be exactly what I want. So a bit more definition coming in with our greenery in places. Let's go up there. And the other thing I want to do is put back in some of the leafiness around our red berries, so that gets another little look in. And I want a little bit more zingy green in places, so I enjoy my zingy green, and a little bit more turquoise. Let's see, let's go up into this corner, layer in some of that. And maybe one through there. That's nice. Rotating is probably a good idea actually as well, because I bet I'm being upright centric about what I'm adding. So let's do some from the other way up for a bit, because these tapes could end up going any which way up on a project, couldn't they? Who knows? What else was I thinking I'd like from mine? Definitely Umbels in a minute. Oh, I think we'd like a little bit of this winter stem, wouldn't we? That's going to be nice. And we have got these little ones as well, which add beautiful little detail. Maybe it's that. Maybe that's what I want a bit of. This is Mowed Lawn, Distress Oxide, and this is going to be lovely and bright. There we go. That's a nice little additional element. Sort of like a sprig of greenery. And again, I'm just going to rotate to get that in lots of places. I'm definitely feeling the urge for some more turquoise in places as well. But it's the tininess of that detail that's actually really good there. Very nice. Very nice. And then the thing I said about wanting to re-add in the leafiness around these berries, or join them up, is my thing, because at the moment I've just got berries without anything linking them. So I think what I might do is take a little bit of a mixture, maybe, of this Rustic Wilderness and this Mowed Lawn, and get myself a nice fine paintbrush. Well, or the tip of this one will do. Oh, where's my nice water brush? There you are. As long as I've cleared the red off you. And then I'm just going to link these berries up again. Just the stems, and then if I want, I can add back in some of the leaves as well. But they were just feeling a bit sort of floaty to me, a bit freeform, a bit abandoned in the middle of nowhere. That one's doing all right. It's still got most of its leafiness around it. And I think what that's making me think is that maybe I do want a few more red berries. I might also do that with these purple stems, even though I said I liked the purple stem. Again, it's just feeling a bit to me as though those berries are floating in the middle of nowhere. And I think that's just a nice way of bringing them back into what's happening on the rest of the panel. I sort of want a few more purple berries, you know. I do love the purple berries. I think I'd quite like to get that little stamp out again with the berry. Where is it? Winter watercolor, there it is. And I can use the ink that's on the mat to add back in. Oh, maybe I can't. Maybe that was a bit of embossing resist that I hit there. There we go. That's a bit better. Pick these up, stamp them down. Probably work better if I did it like this, wouldn't it? I'm playing. So I can't promise that everything's going to work. These are little experiments and playtimes and personal delight in seeing what I can put onto these tapes. It's just to give those berries a bit more presence, really, because they did get a bit lost in the watercolouring. And you know what, I do want some more purple back, because a couple of the purples got lost as well. So a couple more purple berries, and then I promise we're going to get on to some white Umbels, which I think are just gonna zing this thing to life. A couple more purple berries I'm gonna do. I'm also doing a couple more with this one, using the Lumberjack Plaid for the berries, which I think is giving me a lovely deep dark red. That would, I mean, it would also be good with even a hint of purple added to it. And then using just an aqua marker, my green aqua marker, as we did the other day on one of the 10-minute tags. This is more than 10 minutes. And that's fine, because I'm having a ball. Just to give me some slightly different berries in red. I think this is a good move, because it's just giving me those little delicate berries. That's a lovely secondary stamping. In addition to the big bold red berries. But I'm enjoying that variation. A little bit of aqua marker in green to just get that stem. Let's have you lot going up here. Grand. In a minute, I'm going to decide against the against the white Umbels. Sorry, I'm thinking purple berries at the moment. I'm going to pop that there. That's got some purple and some red on it, which is magic, it turns out. Maybe we put one more through the middle. No, let's save some space for some white Umbels. I am going to do it. I am. But this, as a sort of greenery masterboard, is now giving me quite a lot of delight. One absolutely crucial thing, of course, before I start trying to white emboss any Umbel heads, is to get the rest of this completely dry. And because I've now got Distress inks going over watercolor going over masking tape surface, which is not the most adhesive surface for inks because it does have a slight sheen. I'm going to do a really good job with the heat tool before I dare sprinkle white embossing powder over this. So I'll be back after some embossing. Not embossing, of course, drying is what I was doing, and I'm really hoping that I've now got that fully dry. It's already a beautiful thing, and maybe I should scan it now so that I've got a record of that before I go on with my white embossing powder and potentially wreck everything. I'm also vaguely inclined to just peel up one bit and see if I can get a look at what I've got already. Yeah, no, I do want to emboss some white Umbels, but I am going, I'm sorry it's toing and froing a lot today, I am going to go and scan that so that I've got it as a thing. So that, of course, also gave it a bit of extra drying time as it was scanning. These are the ones I think I want to add in and put some white embossing on, and then this might well put in an appearance when we do some final ephemera stamping. I don't think I want all three heads in one place, so what I'm going to aim for is maybe one or two of these, one or two of each head, I guess, is what I'm thinking. And I don't want the stems because, as I say, that gives you such a sort of stripe across the page. So I'm hoping that will give me, we'll see, enough for my opaque bright white powder. Now I've forgotten where I stamped it. It was somewhere here, right? Oh boy. Did that happen on camera? Excellent. There you go. Knocked over. Oh, see, that's no good because that powder has stuck to pretty much everything that's there, I think. It's stuck to green, it's stuck to everything. So the thing I'm going to do with that is get it off right away. There it goes, and change tack, and maybe try doing some stamping in white paint. See if I can get that bright enough. It's not going to be quite the same effect, but if that powder is just going to stick to everything, that's not really going to work. I need to do something about picking this up as well. Back in a sec. If you get a spill like that, I basically always just use my paper as a kind of dustpan and sweep it up with the dustpan brush with my very beautiful, actually that seems to be a perfect pearls one. That's for applying very fine powder, so it's a very fine dusty brush. Picks up pretty much everything. Right, I'm now torn because I was really looking forward to that, and I don't think white paint is going to give me quite the same effect as a beautiful emboss, because as I'm moving this, I think you can probably see those ones that we clear embossed earlier on do have that lovely light catching capability, which was also what I was hoping for from my bright white embossing powder. Why is it so determined to stick to the whole thing? I might try one more down in the corner here, because as you saw, one can just wipe it off if it's not working. Or maybe we just call a halt with some white spatter. Let's do some white spatter and see how that looks. It's a shame because I wanted my Umbels. Where is there it is. Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleedproof white ink, and if this is still wet, then I definitely need to be bleed proof, because otherwise the ink is just going to pick up into my spatter. And of course my spatter brush has also gone missing. I told you the desk would be chaos by the end of this, and it really is. Oh, I see, I've put my spatter brush away where it belongs. Who knew? Right, let's get a little bit of this out and see if a little bit of snowy spatter will fulfill my need for bright whiteness. It's there we go. I mean, that's quite nice. Maybe that's the thing, because the Umbels, basically that frostiness of the Umbels is is what I was after. And with this, I get that, but in a spatter form. And hopefully the bright white, bleed-proof white, should stay white. It shouldn't pick up any wet ink colour that's underneath it, although I have diluted it quite a lot. So what I might also do is catch it with the heat tool. That might be what's causing the embossing powder to stick, of course, is that I've heated this masking tape, and perhaps just the surface of it becomes a little bit adhesive from the glue underneath. That might be what's causing the embossing powder to stick. So I can see one of those white spatters has hit my red berries, and I want to put a stop to that. Another one over here, just bleeding into the red. Red was always going to be the issue as far as bleeding goes, because it does. It bleeds, it stains, it does all those things. I do love the white against the blue. That's rather beautiful. I do love where it's hitting the embossing. I think I might be all right with that as my winter whiteness. I do want to put a little bit of text stamping on still, so I might come back for another layer of white. But in the meantime, let's get ourselves... Yeah, I think Coffee Archival is going to be the way to go. That's what I've got the other lettering in. I do like this little signed piece of ephemera reference number. I think that's quite a nice thing to add. Like I've been posting parcels and I've been given a little reference number to remember them by. Where's that parcel gone to? Oh, here's your reference number. You can look it up. Let's pop another one there, and let's have one going across there. So at the moment, this is giving a really strong geometrical element to the masterboard, because you're seeing all these crisscrossing, upright, horizontal, vertical bits of text. But again, when the tapes come apart, that's all going to look very different. It's going to appear in different places at different points, and you won't be aware of its frequency. That's quite a nice starting point. And then I think I might go... Oh, so that has picked up some of the white ink that was still wet. That's fine, as long as you give the stamp a little spritz. Get that ink out so it doesn't dry in any of your fine detail places. So that's ink that is different from stamping ink. That was little globules of ink. Oh, look, and I've got lovely bits of white ink that have come back onto the top of my ink pad. But as you can see, a little wipe of that and it takes it off the surface again. It'll all be fine. I think I might want a little bit of number stamping. Yeah, so my much loved field note stamps, just packed with lovely numbers that always just make me happy somehow. Controversially, I think I may be going to do this in blue. Ho. Yeah, because it really is subtle in the layers now. There's just something interesting to me about that. I'm mostly trying to go across. If I'm doing a vertical one, I'm going across two bits of tape so that it's appearing on two strips simultaneously. Quite enjoying that. Oh, look, and there's bleed-proof white ink going everywhere again, and on the surface of the ink. That might be, we might be there. I rather like that blue, just adding a bit of different detail. So as you can see, we now have a masterboard that looks like a big hot mess. I'm going to dry this white snow and dive in for a little close-up across this so that you can see it before we peel it apart, and then we can come back and look at it as the tapes peel away. It's always that peel and reveal that is a magic moment. Let's dive in for a little close-up of what we've got so far. So I've had a little bit of a tidy up before we get to the peeling and revealing, and I've done a little bit more stamping of the brown Gothic text, so stamped in Archival. There's a bit you can see in there, just to refresh that sort of festive text. There's some right in the middle there, and yeah, I think that's the only extra thing I did. I had a little bit of drying of the white spatter, but yeah, that's where we are so far, ready for some peeling and revealing. So here we go. As always, part of the joy of this process comes as these tapes peel away and we see little elements. If you were, for instance, cutting a masterboard up, the same thing applies. As soon as you see one little square or one little postcard, you just discover new elements in them that you couldn't see when they were all sitting next to each other. I mean, it's even looking good from the back, isn't it, already? Let's peel away. And again, same piece of advice, rather than pulling up in this direction from the paper, if you fold back and peel in this direction, then things will unstick more easily. Masking tape, I'm going to keep one finger on that end to stop it all rolling up as I peel. And of course, yeah, it's a beauty. I'm going to pop it onto this other piece of paper, and we'll go down in a slightly different order and probably a little way apart so that I can see what's what as I do it. It's a very beautiful tape. Let's now maybe take one from the bottom. So this is one of the wider ones. And again, I'm going to peel back against the grain. All that heating of the masking tape doesn't seem to have done anything to stop the adhesion. And it's plenty sticky on the back here. So as I've mentioned in the other episodes, oh heck, that's what you don't want to do. Drop it and roll it up. Although that seems to have survived. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, I've completely lost my train of thought now because my tape all rolled up and I couldn't catch it. Oh yes, how I store it. I've been storing it on these just pieces of fairly cheap watercolor paper, and that seems to work fine for me in terms of peeling it up and using it again in the future. Seems to stay sticky. Don't seem to have lost any stickiness in terms of the adhesion with the heating. People have mentioned keeping their tapes in photo albums on that sort of glassine paper as a way to maintain adhesion. But as I say, there's one set of these tapes that I've had several months now, and I used some the other day, and it was completely fine in how it came up off the paper and how it then stuck down again. That's a lovely purpley one. So this was one of my hopes, is that without that berry at that end, I have got one there that is my favoured version of Christmas colours without any red. Let's take another of the thick ones. I've got slightly more of the thinner one. I think I've got 3 thick and 5 thin. That was just what fitted onto the paper. And as I peel back this one, then we get to see the ones that are left on this paper as well. So if I now alternate, having got to the edge of there, what I also really love is this skinny stripe of in-between stuff that we're left with. That's a really beautiful one. That's got just so much joy on it. Let's pop that there. There's little bits of powder. I think that's probably left from that white embossing disaster, but I'll brush that off in due course. Let's take you. What can I fit still on here? Probably, oh, it doesn't want to come off that end. Let's have you. That's interesting. What's going on? Magic of a peel and reveal, delayed. seems to be right at the edge of the paper. And of course, my nails are full of paint. Chances are I'll rip this in any case when I use it. I very rarely use a piece of tape with the edges straight, except of course on my tape roll toadstools, where I needed it to fit round the... There's another one. When that happens, just stay light, stay hopeful, and it has unrolled successfully. Let's pop that down there, and I think I can fit one more wide one on there, can't I? But you can see those there. So what I'll probably do is I'll move that over to there. I'll move these along so that I've then got one whole look for you to have a look at for the dive in, for the close-up. I hope you've enjoyed that process. As you saw, it comes and goes, things go wrong, you carry on, rescue if you need to, enjoy what appears in front of you. Thank you so much, as always, for your company on this creative journey. Your comments and feedback just lift my heart. It's a joy interacting with you. I will leave details of as many of the ingredients as I can remember down below, and I'll link to the previous episodes, so the summer one and the autumn one. So if you want more tape making ideas, we did things slightly differently in each time, and certainly different colorways and different imagery, but I can't resist botanicals. Thanks so much for your company all, and happy crafting.